Welcome back to Meaningful Conversations Live with Beata. My name is Beata. I'm your host, coach, speaker, and change maker. Why this show? I created that show for you to bring other change makers with inspiring stories to raise awareness, create positive change, and inspire you to create transformation in your own life. Because if you don't take responsibility for your own life, who will? Today, I'm honored to have, oh my goodness, Stephon Leary. Did I say it right?
You got it right. That works. Stephon Leary. That's correct.
Stephon, I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you so much. How is life out there on the other side of this computer?
Well, I'm in Houston, Texas, and so life is good since we've passed the storm. The storm gave us a little bit of an interruption. However, we are recovering from that, and we've had beautiful weather since then. So,
what a beautiful beginning of this conversation, because I know that you had many storms in your own life. So we're gonna go there, but everyone who's listening to us, let me introduce and tell you a little bit who Stephon is. He is a full-time motivational speaker, best-selling author, founder of Reaching New Highs basketball program and Shooting Stars AAU, and author. Oh my goodness, we were gonna talk about that, but it's the only book that I have, but I know that you have more, that you wrote more. Is there anything else, Stephon, that I didn't mention? I know also that you have a passion to inspire and motivate people, especially young individuals, and you show them how to become a champion in different areas of life. Is it true?
That's correct. You know, my whole passion, my purpose in life, I think everyone in life, we're all looking to discover who we really are. And for me, I found myself in love with sports as a kid, and my whole identity and my whole life was wrapped up in sports, from playing to coaching every sport. And for 27 years, I coached and trained and developed young people through basketball and training. However, when COVID hit and different storms and, like you said, and different things happened in my life, I found myself wondering just who I was. It's crazy to think that, right? If you've been doing something for 27 years, you would think a person's living out their true purpose. However, for me, what I discovered was my whole identity was wrapped up in who I was identified with as a coach and as a former athlete. And I wrote that book during COVID. I finished that book up because I reflected back on who I was. And I realized that I had a transformational moment in my life at the age of 17, being a kid from the inner city with a single mom, growing up in a two-bedroom apartment with all of my siblings. My mom ran from an abusive dad at the age of, I was about 4 or 5. And we ran from Louisiana to Houston, Texas. And we ended up in Houston where I grew up. And sports saved my life. So I have a great appreciation for sports. And I have a great appreciation for those who helped me get to where I am today. Even so much so that my life changed at a basketball camp, a great Hall of Famer by the name of Pistol Pete Maravich. Pistol Pete Maravich was the person who opened my eyes to who I could be and who I really was. And it was because he did not give me the MVP trophy when I thought I deserved it. I was the best player at the camp. My team went undefeated. And I'm thinking I'm going to get this award. I've never had anything like this before. And he has a lunch with me and tells me that I did not deserve the award because my character didn't get the award. I was broken at the moment. I was shattered. I was confused. I've never heard anything like that before in my life. Where I'm from in the city, it's, you know, kill, be killed, survive. You got to be the best. Don't let them beat you. Your hood's better than their hood. You know, you got to, it's about being the man. And that's the way I showed up at his camp. And unfortunately, that guy didn't get that award. In my life, I heard his testimony as a man who was the first $1 million basketball player in the NBA, Hall of Fame basketball player that almost wrecked his life because of his character. He shared that story. That night, I became a Christian. Upon that night, becoming a Christian, it was like the lights had turned on for me, and I began to see my life for something better and something that I could possibly accomplish in life. However, I meet this family. I meet this wonderful lady by the name of Lynn Johnson. I'm black, being a black man. She was white. She, at this 5 o'clock in the morning prayer meeting, we got through praying, and she came up to me and asked me a simple question. What is a young man like you doing here with all of these adults? And I'm thinking, I'm with him. I was there because the coach who took me to the camp asked me would I be interested in going to a Christian school. And I told her I was there to visit the Christian school. She looked at me and she said these words, which blew my mind. She said, "That's funny. While we were praying, I felt like God wanted me to offer you a place to live." And I was blown away in that moment. And I began to think, what in the world is my life coming to?
Right.
And so that was the beginning of a change in my life. But I realized when COVID hit that I lived my life as Stephon Leary from that age of 17 until now. And I never went back and revisited Stephon Leary from 0
wow.
to 17. And when I looked at 0 to 17, that's when I discovered that I was a broken, neglected, abused kid who was searching for his true purpose and my true identity. And here
wow. What a story. I'm really honored that you are sharing with us that story today, because I know that, you know, no matter where we live, where we come from, and like right now, especially during COVID, there are many young people, and not only young, that are feeling the same, neglected, yes, not belonging, lonely, isolated, and not loved.
That's correct.
So I want you to take us back a little bit back to when you were this 17 plus, and because sports, like you said, the sport was a great teacher for you, and yeah, thankfully you met these great mentors that showed you that you don't have to follow the path that your family or society is on. You can choose something different. So what was your greatest gift? You were a great team player, but what was your greatest gift in sport, and what did you need to work on the most? Was it the attitude, like you said?
Yeah, I think so. I think the attitude. My greatest gift, I believe, was that I had a passion and a joy and a work ethic to be great, to be good. That was probably my greatest gift. And so I actually was, which I share in the book, I actually was cut as a freshman. I played all sports growing up except for basketball. I didn't ever play organized basketball. I just arrived in high school and was playing, and everyone was thinking, man, are you going to try out? You're going to try out? You're going to try out? And I thought, I don't know, I guess I'll try out. And I tried out and I got cut.
Okay.
And getting cut it motivated me. I thought I was better than a lot of people that stayed on the team, and so I became motivated. And being motivated, I played from sun up to sundown, and my family would tell you, and my mom would tell you, my biological mother, she would tell you that it didn't matter what was happening. If she wanted to find me, she could find me at the park. I tell my kids when I was a coach, I told my kids, I said, I used to make a little money around midnight or so. I used to play one-on-one against the drunks and take their money. That being in the hood, that's how I get some money. So a drunk would come up and say, young man, I bet I could beat you. And I would run circles around him and take his money.
That's funny.
I mean, I played from the time I got out of school till, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I stayed out late. So, but I always had a work ethic and a passion. And I went back the following year and I made the team. And of course, this led me to, other challenges as you strive to become who you are in life. No matter what happens, you're always going to have challenges. And I found myself on the bench, right? And I tell people all the time, this is what I tell people. When you find yourself on the bench, you have to decide, why am I on the bench? And you must be willing to take responsibility for why you're on the bench. The question for many people in their life is, why am I sitting in the position I'm sitting in? And unfortunately, there are many things that lead people to the bench. For me, in the game of basketball, I never played organized basketball, so I didn't really understand it, even though I was gifted athletically and I could play. I learned that in the streets at the park, right? But learning how to run plays and be a point guard, it took me a while. And I found myself on the bench. When I realized as a coach, when I became a coach, I had this concept that I would always tell my kids, there are two things that I want you to learn. There's the game of basketball and there's the game of life. And they're not different when you apply the principles that need to be applied to be successful. Hard work, basketball. Hard work, life. Practicing good habits, basketball, life. The basketball court is formed by lines, and those lines are meaningful things that you cannot cross. In life, there's laws and rules that you cannot cross. When those things happen, there are consequences. And in those consequences, we find ourselves on the bench. The consequences in the game of basketball, the coach decides to bench you. The consequences in the game of life also benches you. What I've learned throughout the years about the bench is that we find ourselves relegated to the bench because of personal choices, because of failure, because of fear, because of rejection, because of mistreatment. Maybe coach yelled at you. Maybe your boss yells at you in life. Maybe someone told you you're not good enough in basketball. Someone tells you you're not good enough in life. And I began to think that those principles in the game of basketball were the same in the game of life. And so I began to think, you know what needs to happen? We all need to get off the bench and get in the game of life. I wrote that in the book.
Absolutely, yes. And for those who are just joining us, we are talking about this book, If I Can, You Can. And it's available everywhere. You just Google Stephon Leary. Stephon Leary. I'm practicing.
You're good. Don't worry.
And you can get much more of the story. But oh my goodness, I'm like speechless right now. Beautiful metaphor of life. Get off the bench. How often we are finding ourselves sitting on the bench of life.
Yes.
Getting divorced,
yes.
Being laid off of the job, feeling lonely, isolated, and rejected. And like you said, the sport and life, you found it's the same. Game of life, game of basketball, it's the same.
It's the same.
Just different rules. And you have Right. And I love that the question.
There's one thing that one of my kids taught me a great lesson, Beata. When I wanted to put him in the game, I walked down to the bench and I wanted to put him in the game, and he said no. I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I want you in the game. I want you in the game. He said no. And he said no because he was afraid of what people would think, and afraid, fear, and he didn't believe he could play in the game of basketball.
Wow.
And I said to myself, when I was writing this book, I believe that those are probably the three strongest things that relegate people to the bench in life. They lose confidence in who they are and no longer believe in their talent or ability. They lose that. They begin to think that they were afraid to fail, and the fear keeps them from taking that next step of getting off the bench. And then the last thing is we care too much about what others think, and we allow other people to define us instead of we define ourselves. And I told one of my players who's playing in college here, you know, I love the story in the Bible of David. And I love that story because, not because he had this encounter with Goliath like everyone talks about. To me, that's probably the smallest part of that story. He killed Goliath because he said, I killed the lions and the bears before I killed Goliath. That Goliath is not a problem either. It was his confidence,
yes,
what he had accomplished before, that gave him the confidence and what he is facing now. And that is what we all need to remember. When we face tough times, when we face difficult times, it is the confidence in what we've done before that will allow for us to overcome whatever's staring in front of us. And I love the fact the way they set up this story. The way they set up this story is that people around him didn't believe in who he was. You remember in the story, they sent David to serve food to the army or to his brothers. And I told this young man, and I tell people in this instance, he was doubted by everyone around him, and yet he accomplished one of the greatest things he ever could. And not only in his life, so much so that thousands of years later, Stephon Leary's still talking about it. But it will go on forever. Your greatest challenge that's in front of you could be your moment of greatness if you have the confidence and the belief in yourself to be able to overcome it. His brother doubted him. His brother said, what are you doing down here? You're too little. You need to go back. And David hears the sound of Goliath and says, who is that over there? You guys afraid of him? I love that. And then the soldiers are like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. You're going to make him come over. And he's like, who is this Philistine that you guys are afraid of? I come in the name of the Lord thy God. Who is this? And then he was also doubted by the king himself, Saul. So much so that Saul wanted to give David his armor to beat Goliath. And David takes, I don't need what you have. I already have what I have. If we get to the point in life where we believe that we're enough,
right,
everything that we have inside of us is enough, and we believe that God who created us put us in a position or a predicament or a situation to overcome this feat, this greatest challenge, no matter how big it looks, no matter how challenging it looks, if you believe that you can do it, I believe that you can conquer and overcome it. And we face tremendous giants in our life here recently with COVID, loss of jobs, change of paths, loss of loved ones, breakups, people divorcing, mental health is at its all-time high. There are many things that are happening that are giants in our life. But if we get off that bench and get in the game, we can overcome them all.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love how you implement the stories, inspiring stories in your story. And it's so true. And from what you said, the confidence, the self-image, the opinion that we have about ourselves, it can be our thickest armor that we can go and, you know, fight with any Goliath.
That's right.
In the world.
That's
yes,
right.
I love it. I love it. And you also mentioned, well, before I go there, I love to ask again the question that you asked because it's so powerful. When you find to yourself if any storm in life or sitting on the bench, ask yourself, why am I sitting where I am right now? Why this bench? What is that bench in my life? And go back to game of life. And going back, it has to take action. Yes. So you have to actually take your butt out of the couch and move.
Yes.
So you mentioned also that the opinions of others, that we are so attached to what your one of your students, he taught you that, like, he was afraid of what people gonna say, that he's a failure. Right. So we humans, comparison is one of the biggest challenge, and
especially with social media.
Absolutely. So tell us, how can athletes, successful athletes like you, can focus on winning and not on comparison when we are in this game of life, when we play?
You know, this is such a near and dear topic to my heart, right? Because I think we get relegated to what we see. And so much of our life, and as you know, we'll talk about later or another time, I just wrote another book, and it's You Are More Than What You See. I thought about Stephon Leary as a young kid. And I tell people that when I was living in the inner city, I didn't know it was the inner city. I didn't know that I was poor. I didn't know that I didn't dress well. You know, when you realize those things in life, when other people tell you. When you go to school that one day and somebody says, oh, you got raggedy clothes on. And then you think to yourself, well, what is it that you're wearing? And then they tell you about the name brands, right? And you think, oh, I want the name brands then. And so what happens to us, we start forming and shaping our lives by other people's opinion and what they think is what we need to be the best self, the best ourselves. And we start defining ourselves by what society says or what people says, or even sometimes what our heroes say. And unfortunately, we live in a day and a world where social media is so prevalent. The first thing that everyone does is they wake up and they hit the phone and they see the good things happening in other people's lives, and they look at their own situation and they think they got it so much better than I do. The second thing is they do, probably before they roll out of bed, is they get up and they walk to the bathroom, as we all do. And we see this image of ourselves that we don't like. And we start shaping and forming these opinions of ourselves before we leave the house that day. We are already not feeling confident enough to be the best we're capable of being. So I say to people, when you get up in the morning, the first thing you should do is you should find something positive to read. It's our senses. I wrote a chapter in my second book. I want people to concentrate more on your senses. What you see first forms a thought. What you read first forms a thought. What you hear first forms a thought. What you touch first forms a thought. What touches you and what you touch forms a thought. Our senses were given to us so that I know for me, the smell part of it, I smell and think, oh, go get in the shower, man. You know what I mean? Right? Our senses tell us positive things to do. You know, I don't need a psychologist to tell me to look at something positive if I just look at it myself. If I wake up in the morning and the first thing that I do, Stephon Leary, this is just my life. I was so into sports that the first thing that I did was turn the TV on and look at sports. I don't do that anymore. The first thing I do is I grab my phone and I read something. I read devotionals. I read inspirational stuff. I may read a book. And it begins to shape my thoughts and opinion about who Stephon Leary, not only who I am, but what I could be. The problem with hope, belief, and confidence is that it's a futuristic thought.
Right.
Believing that you are something, believing that you can do something, hoping that things will go well for you. And when you don't put those sort of thoughts in your mind, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, it shapes everything you think about yourself. So what I encourage people to do, as I did as an athlete, as I do now as a person in life, as an athlete, I woke up and thought, I got to get better today. I got to get better today. I got to put on my clothes and I got to get to the gym. I got to go run. I got to do my push-ups. I got to do whatever it is to get myself ready to be successful in whatever I'm striving and achieving to do. Well, life's the same way. I get up in the morning, I read something. I still stretch, but now I'm stretching because I want to stay youthful and be able to do things. To play basketball, but I'm doing it so I can live well, right? Stretch, pray, or meditate, right?
Right.
In a sense and a positive mindset so that you can project yourself into being the most successful that you're capable of being.
From what I'm hearing, you created a ritual that you do every single day that will put you, no matter what, in this inspiring mindset that you're gonna look, or you can look on what you have and maybe it's not inspiring around you, but you have vision. You have vision for today, for tomorrow. And
that vision is of me.
Yes.
The most important thing that everyone can do in life is have a vision for you. The best thing when you say, what do? You know, there's a great quote that I love this quote, and it's in my next book, right? It's a great quote. The great Helen Keller says the greatest thing in life, the saddest thing or most difficult thing in life is not that you can't see.
Yes.
It's that you have sight and you do not see. We have the sight, we have our senses, we have everything we need to encourage ourselves, to put ourselves in a positive mindset, to prepare ourselves for whatever life, whatever hand that life deals us. We have that ability to do that. The unfortunate part is that we allow ourselves to be shaped by other things and other people's lives that we no longer see ourselves useful.
Absolutely.
I would tell you that there are far too many people. I grew up in the inner city, and I thought to myself as I was writing this book and thinking about these topics, I woke up and I saw what around me. I never dreamed of being anything more than what I saw. I just didn't. I don't think anybody does. But when we see those things, do they motivate and inspire you that you're willing to now strive to work toward them? Or are you allowing those things to diminish who you think you are? And my challenges for everyone is that if you begin to see something differently, when my life changed, when I came back from that camp, I, for the first time, saw the drug dealer as he's a problem in the community. When he was there at first, I thought he's trying to make money. I didn't see the difference.
Right.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter where you are, where you're growing up. The things that we surround ourselves shapes our thoughts and opinions that will allow for us to have the kind of work ethic and attitude and belief in ourselves that we can get off the bench and get in the game of life and be as successful as we desire to be.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Hello, I have Heather here, which says, get off the bench and into the game. Beautiful. Yes.
Hi,
yes. And thank you, Heather, for being with us. Malcolm, hi, welcome. Tammy, she says, your greatest challenge can be your moment of greatness. It's what you basically said, what you said. And my husband joined us as well. So true. That's true. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If you have any questions to Stephon, it's the best moment to ask because you don't have Stephon every day live on the show. So you have a chance. And my next question is, well, I can relate to everything what you said because I came from Poland and I have started my life. So I had many storms before I got to the shore of America, United States, yes. And soon after, I hit another storms. And first of all, it was my accent. People know my accent, and sometimes it's life. People are not always happy, so they're gonna point out something about you.
That's correct.
So when I had this I heard this comment, is there someone who really speaks English? And so it just took me so down. My confidence went like back so far because I thought that my English is perfect. Yeah. So thank you for a reminder that the other people's opinions are none of our business. Really, it's just reflection of who they are. So
and it doesn't matter the situation or the state that you find yourself in. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever somebody says is their insecurity projected on you. And if you have a belief and a confidence in who you are, you don't have to focus on them. You focus on yourself. You take those things to help them motivate you.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's difficult, but that's what we should do.
Absolutely. And from what you say, and I can say the same, there is never too late to learn confidence, to start believing and rebuild the identity that was maybe imposed on you. Maybe it's not really who you are, but you have to find courage to go after that. Well, I have the last question.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, many people ask the question, how do I build confidence?
Yes.
I train kids, right? You come to me with the inability to be able to shoot. My goal is to teach you how to shoot. When I teach you how to shoot, I give you proper technique and form.
Right.
And when I give you proper technique and form, it's repetitions after that. The same thing in life. When you get the right game plan for your life, right? You must practice and repeat that repetitiously until you become so confident and believe in yourself that nothing else will matter or keep you from believing in yourself.
Absolutely. It's my another question, and it's important to me to know, but I think a lot of us is really curious about what was your greatest challenge after you stopped playing basketball and you became a coach? Because sometimes we have this phases, this in life, the stages that we are someone, we are a mother, we are a father, we are we have a job, and then we stop and we are losing our identity. We don't know sometimes who we are anymore. So what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
My biggest challenge, Beata, I just recently overcame it.
Wow. Wow.
I told you before, everything I knew about Stephon Leary, my sense of identity, my security, my confidence in who I was in this game of basketball and coaching, right?
Right.
The greatest challenge for me was to believe in who I was outside of those things.
Wow.
And I look for so many things in life, in relationships, and professionally, climbing the ladder of success professionally. I look for many different things to try and find my peace from within. And I am just now
wow.
I've spent my whole life transitioning. I call that time that you're referring to a period of transition. And you'll love in this next book. I give a great illustration of it because everyone loves the Lion King. But it wasn't until Simba saw himself for who he was supposed to be that he ran back to be the king that he was promised to be. Until we find that complete peace within ourselves, that nobody, no one, no matter what they say, what they think about you, not even, here's what I learned, not even the positive things. I got so many pat on the backs of being a good coach when I became a coach because I won a girls state championship, a boys state championship. I won football state championship. I was just winning and winning and winning. And then when it all came to a halt, I was like, who am I? Even when the positive things are happening in our lives, it still covers up the boo-boos of what we never dealt with in our life. And I'm just happy to say, the last year or so, last 2-3 years, maybe 2 years, I became an inventor. I've written 2 books, and I found my peace, and I never thought it would be outside of basketball.
Basketball, wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That is so powerful story. And how many of us is living in something that we trust with all our heart, that it's all what we can be, it's all what there is for us because we identify with that job, with that relationship, with that business. And then when you let go, when you revisit, because it takes courage to look back and take ownership for everything, not just the trophies that you get, but also the times when you are on the bench.
Yes, absolutely. The bench is a great lesson.
Yes.
If you're willing to learn, the bench teaches you lessons in life that nothing else could teach you. And so often we resent the bench. But here's what I learned about the bench as I got to become a successful coach and person in life. They give out this award. It's called the 6th Man of the Year. Wouldn't you like to be that guy that come off the bench and sparks the team instead of that person sitting on the bench that's afraid to take that step? You got to get off the bench and get in the game. Believe in yourself. Take that shot and believe that it's going in.
There is no better way probably to end that conversation. But before we go, I want to bring what Heather said, love the vulnerability in the shares. Yes, he is hero. And Stephon, what is the best way to find you, to find more, to connect with you?
You can find me on Facebook, Stephon Leary. You can find me on Instagram, Coach Stephon Leary. You can find me on Twitter, Coach Stephon Leary. You can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, my website at CoachStephonLeary.com. And I'm at a place where I am willing and to help any and everyone who needs help. So reach out to me. I'm here to help.
Absolutely. And the books that are there and the one that is coming are available on Amazon and
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, basically you just Google his name and you're gonna find everything. It's what I did when I was learning about you.
That's a book I'm looking forward to. It's a book that I really believe will have impact and change people's lives. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that too. I already had a little like sneak peek in your latest article.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you a question, but basically you answered my question already. I was like, right, how he knows? Anyway, thank you.
I just wrote an article. I write for In the Limelight magazine. You can look up.
Yeah, it's from that magazine. Yeah.
In the Limelight magazine, I wrote a sneak preview of "You Are More Than What You See." Get rid of that mirror, that's reflection in that mirror that's telling you you're not good enough or something's wrong with you. You are more than enough. You are more than what you see. Don't allow that mirror to lie to you.
Amen. Don't let this mirror lie to you. Stephon, thank you so very much for your time, for your wisdom, and please do not ever stop inspiring us to get the game of life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who is listening, to those who are gonna listen later on replay, please share this inspiring message with everyone you know, because you never know who might need that inspiration, who might need that lifting up today, that these words that will move them out of the bench into the game of life.
Yes, love it.
Thank you so much, and see you next Tuesday. See you next Tuesday at noon. Please connect with Stephon and connect with me as well, because I want to know what else would you like to hear on this show, and who else would you like me to bring, and maybe I can help you. We are all here to help.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.